The Ducks get a dub. Let's party.
Yeah!
It's time for the
drinks.
Yes, yeah, there might be one to the right of me. There may or may not be one.
If I weren't recovering from being sick still, I would have one with you, my friend. But
I hear alcohol kills germs.
You know what?
Alcohol kills germs.
Give me a good Long Island iced tea then. Everybody else that is not driving and safely home or at an establishment where you can drink, please crack one open for me.
Or if you're on your way home, but someone else is driving, I hope you cracked plenty before, during, and after the game in the tailgate.
Yes.
Because it was a great day to be a Duck as they beat Minnesota 42-13. Welcome into the Dick Hanna Dealerships post-game scoreboard show. I am Joe Fisher III. Across the faux marble table is Jordan Schultz. Across the glass is Brandon Henson. We are rocking with you for the next hour and a half up until midnight. And I'm glad we're doing this for a home game, because if this was an away game and we were here doing this late at night, not as fun. So people back on the road, heading back up to Salem, Portland, Vancouver, or heading south, heading wherever you came from to Watson Stadium to watch that game. And not only watch that game, but watch a game in a dry environment. Thank God for normal weather for 1 week. I mean,
60 degrees when I drove in tonight. I was like, wow, what perfect conditions for a Friday night football game in not like mid-October, mid-November, dude. It's usually really ass cold by now.
No, it was a breath of fresh air after what Duck fans and myself experienced down at Autzen against Wisconsin, after what we witnessed against Iowa last week. It was like, can we just get a normal game once, please? So
no more trench foot.
Yes, so we can see this Oregon team at its full potential, and boy, we got that, and it was really an impressive showing on both sides of the ball. We're going to get to all the stats, break down all the team individual stats, the performances, what we saw out there, but really just an impressive offensive showing and defensive, but the offense looked great, especially coming off of a short week where you had to travel back, and you played a physical game against an Iowa team last week, and Minnesota, they themselves coming off of a bye week. I know that, coming to Autzen is not an easy task for any road team, but Minnesota, they had a little bit of extra time to prepare. The Ducks had one less day to prepare. And again, after that game against Iowa, the way that they looked tonight on both sides of the ball, but just offense, very impressive win for the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, Joe, thinking tonight that Oregon kind of needed a get-right game offensively, and this was the exact kind of game as a fan that I wanted to see. And starting off, I mean, this was the first time that Oregon scored on their opening drive since they faced off against the Beavers in the Civil War, man. It's been a long time since we've seen Oregon really set the tone, and their ability to do that, I think from the opening drive on, really establishes how they're going to play throughout the game. I was super concerned about the Ducks last week, Joe, lowering themselves down to Iowa's level in that win. If Oregon's going to be successful, especially in the Big Ten, it's going to be when they force lesser teams to bend their way. And we saw that blueprint today. It was so awesome. It's something we need to see going forward more often. I really hope that they get that established next week against USC. This was, once again, the first time since week 3, that we saw this. That's a problem, but thankfully it's back, and all kinds of other things in offense worked, Joe, and that was encourage for me.
Yeah, and you want to talk about not only starting fast, but just continuing the pace throughout the game. Of the 7 drives that the starters were on the field, and it would be 8 if you want to include the one play drive before halftime. But the Oregon offensive starters, they scored a touchdown on 6 of their 7 drives tonight. So it was just a consistent offensive effort, led by, again, the rushing attack, but also Dante Moore and his efficiency tonight, 27 of 30. And this was on the broadcast. You might have seen it going around on the social medias, but 27 of 30, 90% completion percentage. That is an Oregon football record for completion percentage in a single game by a single player. So I think Oregon fans, coaches, everybody is happy, but I think as far as who might be the happiest Oregon Duck out there, it's probably Dante Moore, just to be like, I could throw the ball tonight and have no problems. Thank God. He was making up for the last 2 weeks and not being able to throw the ball and not being able to play as much, and he made up for a lot of incompletions and pass plays that they couldn't play and run over the last couple weeks tonight. Again, 27 of 30, just highly efficient ball from Dante Moore.
Well, yeah, coming in, he had not thrown a touchdown in almost or just over a month. But then by the end of the first quarter, he already had more than 100 yards passing. So, yeah, because of him, because of the offensive line, their offense was firing on all cylinders. And, man, just how smooth Dante Moore looked in just about every situation today. He just looked a lot better than he did in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I'm even wondering with tonight's performance if we raised his draft stock up, because those connections over the top to start the game on that first drive, it was really nice. It was kind of a tale of two sides of the offense. First drive, it was the run. First drive, it was the pass. Then second drive, the run was established, and you got to see Oregon working, like we say, firing on all cylinders really quickly. And yeah, that ball to Malik Benson to start the game, that other ball to Kenyon Sadiq to start the game in that first drive, they just looked perfect. And whether or not it was Dante Moore fooling the safeties with his eyes, or whether or not it was the cornerback that kind of got baited by like a route by one of the inside receivers, man, Oregon just was smooth all night. And this is the offense, Joe, that kind of made me earlier in the season wonder, how high is Oregon's ceiling? I saw that kind of play from Oregon tonight. It was exciting for me.
Well, again, we talked about it last week that this team will go as far as its defense takes it. But when you can get a dry, normal playing environment where both units are able to show themselves, and you get the performance out of Dante Moore and the running back room, the receivers as well. Also, Dante Moore, he was able to complete a ball to 9 different receivers. If you want to include that Cooper Perry minus 11-yard reception that led to the fumble. That was the only drive they did not score on the offensive starters, but technically a completion. So Dante Moore did have 27 completions to 9 different receivers today.
Can I get my one negative out of the way really quickly?
I would expect nothing less in the first segment, Jordan.
This really is. I'm not nitpicking tonight. There's so many good things that Oregon did, but Cooper Perry has now been responsible for 2 turnovers in the last 2 weeks.
Wow,
Dante Moore's
just picking on Cooper Perry.
Well, it's obvious. Go back to last.
What would happen?
Go back to last week. Brandon was here, and he saw me yelling very, very loudly and yelling a lot of swear words at that. But Cooper Perry last week against Iowa on that Dante Moore interception, Cooper had not even turned around to see where the ball was, right over his head, and just easily picked by that safety. It is the receiver's job at that point to try to find the ball, and if you know you're not going to catch it, to play freaking defensive back. I know he's a freshman. I know he's a young kid, but that was on him, not on Dante Moore. Then you go to this week, and what was it? Basically like a shovel pass to like a end around or some kind of trick play that they were going to run.
Yeah, just the timing got thrown off on that, and like you probably just need to, take your
just
take the L
Cooper.
and just like lay down on that one. Yeah, I'm also really glad I felt it coming, the Schultzy freak out, so I reached to the volume knob just in time to turn it down so my earlobes aren't bleeding now.
That was very smart, but let me finish this up by saying that drive ended up dying because of Cooper Perry and Cooper Perry alone. It was a hook and ladder, and yeah, it just ended up tossing to the running back that was over his head or right behind him to a defender. Like you just said, Joe, yeah, you got to eat that. 2 mistakes in 2 weeks. That's the kind of stuff, especially in a program like Oregon, that's got to get you benched. It reminds me, Joe, last season when Oregon was struggling early on with offensive line injuries, Cameron Pickard was putting Oregon in situations where they were giving stuff up. Their offensive line was not playing to the standard. And
Charlie Pickard,
excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, Charlie Pickard. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Last year when their center was out, they had to put Pickard in at center. It did not go well for the first 3 games.
I'm just thinking of Charlie Pickard's parents driving back up right now. Like, what the hell?
Like, Schultzy, you're not even naming our kid right.
And they're like, bro.
And Pickard has improved. He was young. Cooper Perry's young. Keep him out until he improves. These mistakes cannot happen at a program like Oregon, but that really was the only downside I saw tonight. Everything else for me was a positive.
And after that play, I believe they were up either 14-0, it was 14-3 at that point, but you just don't like to see mistakes compound, which they did not after that. So I think that is the bright spot of a situation like that is that we saw this early on in the game against Rutgers. First drive of the game, fumble. Rutgers gets the ball right back in their and on their side of the field, on Oregon side of the field rather. And this is coming off of the Indiana loss. So that play happens against Rutgers, and you're like, oh boy, is this going to be one of those weird games where we play down to Rutgers? Sure enough, they give up that field goal, and then it was a rout the rest of the way. So after those mistakes, you just want to see a team respond. And then after that fumble, again, touchdown, one play before halftime, so whatever. Touchdown, starters were pulled. So they responded after their one turnover of the game. No turnovers forced by the defense, which I think as football fans, we're always hoping that we get at least one of those. But
kind of thought we'd see a pick tonight by Finney, or it just seemed like the defensive backs were on tonight. I was surprised.
Yeah, punt, field goal, punt. Their one touchdown coming right out of halftime where they made their adjustments, scripted up their second half drive. Punt, end of game for Minnesota as Oregon wins 42-13